Picture two people sitting in the same office building at the same company. They started the same year, have similar titles, and earn within $10,000 of each other. The first person just got a raise to $90,000 a year. Their apartment costs $2,000 more per month than 3 years ago. Their car payment is $540. They check their bank account with a quiet knot in the stomach. The second person earns the same range, lives in the same zip code, but has a net worth approaching $400,000. Same income, radically different financial reality. What you are about to find out is why salary was never the variable that mattered. The income trap is not about irresponsibility. According to a November 2025 Visa economic report, there is a growing and measurable gap between high income and high net worth across the United States. People earning six-figure salaries report financial instability, not because they earn too little, but because income and wealth are two entirely different mechanisms. Income is a flow. Wealth is a stock. The moment you confuse one for the other, you have already lost the game you did not know you were playing. The median household income in the United States was $83,730 in 2024, according to U.S. Census Bureau data. Yet the median net worth of American households sits at only $192,900. A 2024 Federal Reserve Household Survey found that only 63% of adults could cover a $400 emergency in cash. This includes households earning well above the median. The salary was arriving, the wealth was not accumulating. These are not the same condition, and they never were. The mechanism behind this disconnect has a name in behavioral economics. It is called lifestyle inflation, sometimes called lifestyle creep. As income rises, spending rises to match it, often faster. The Federal Reserve reports that personal saving rates have remained persistently low even during periods of wage growth. This is the predictable result of treating income as an identity signal rather than a tool. Every raise becomes a permission slip to upgrade the apartment, the car, the wardrobe. Spending expands to fill available income, the same way possessions expand to fill available space. The most dangerous financial position in the modern economy is not low income. It is high income with near zero net worth growth. A person earning $90,000 per year who invests nothing has no more wealth-building machinery running than a person earning $30,000 who also invests nothing. The salary creates comfort. The comfort creates assumptions. The assumptions create inaction, and inaction compounds over time at exactly the same mathematical rate that invested capital compounds, in the opposite direction. There is a concept that explains why salary increases make some people wealthy and leave others exactly where they started. It is not taught in school. It does not appear in most personal finance guides, but once you see the mechanism, you will recognize it everywhere. The coworker who got a promotion and immediately leased a better car. The household that earns double what it earned a decade ago and still saves nothing. The concept is called the hedonic treadmill, and it is the reason chasing income without building assets is mathematically equivalent to running toward a horizon that continuously retreats. The hedonic treadmill, identified by researchers Brickman and Campbell in 1971, describes a universal human pattern. When circumstances improve, satisfaction rises temporarily and returns to baseline. A raise feels extraordinary for weeks, and then becomes the new normal. The upgraded apartment feels spacious and then simply feels like home. This psychological reset means every income increase generates a temporary improvement followed by an automatic upgrade in lifestyle expectations. Satisfaction chases income upward. Spending follows, and wealth never accumulates. The mathematics of this pattern are straightforward and severe. A household earning $80,000 that receives a 15% raise to $92,000 and increases spending to absorb the additional $12,000 annually accumulates zero additional wealth. But a household that keeps lifestyle constant and redirects that same $12,000 into index funds at 8%. Average annual returns accumulates approximately $173,000 in additional net worth over 10 years. Same raise. The only variable is what was done with the difference between the old life and the new income. Economists call the failure to redirect surplus income the consumption ratchet effect. Once a spending level is established, it becomes a psychological floor. Spending rarely falls when income falls. It simply creates financial stress. This also means income increases almost never produce savings increases unless a structural decision is made before the money arrives. The person who allocates a raise before receiving it builds wealth. The person who receives it and adjusts naturally spends it within 3 months without identifying where it went. What separates people who build wealth on ordinary salaries from people who remain fragile on high ones is a single decision made consistently over time. The wealth builder treats income as raw material and allocates it by design. The income-dependent person treats income as the destination and spends by default. One compounds, the other does not. The question is not how to earn more. It is how to structure existing income so that a portion permanently escapes the consumption system and begins building on its own. The data on this pattern is older and more consistent than most people realize. Researchers have examined the relationship between income and wealth accumulation across multiple decades. The findings are not ambiguous. High income is not the dominant predictor of high net worth. Savings rate, investment consistency, and asset allocation are. This is the statistical finding that emerges every time researchers examine actual household balance sheets. What follows is what decades of data reveal about the income illusion and what it costs the people who believe it. In 2024, the top 1% of individual income earners required $430,000 annually per Social Security Administration data. The average wealth of households in the top 1% was approximately $35.5 million as of the second quarter of 22 per Federal Reserve figures. But entry to the top 10% of wealth holders required a net worth of only $970,000. You can reach the top 10% of wealth on far less income than most people assume, provided that income was consistently converted into assets rather than consumed. The nominal wage growth statistic tells the starkest version of this story. Since March 2006, the nominal average wage in the United States grew by $590 per week per Time-Trek's analysis of Bureau of Labor Statistics data. Adjusted for inflation, that period produced a real increase of only $159 per week. Nearly 2 decades of salary increases in nominal terms. Less than 160 real dollars per week gained. Every worker who watched their salary rise and believed they were becoming wealthier was experiencing monetary illusion. The number went up. The real position barely moved. The Charles Schwab Modern Wealth Survey from 2024 found that the average American believes a net worth of $2.5 million is required to be considered wealthy. Yet median American household net worth is $192,900. A gap of more than $2.3 million between where the average American stands and where they believe wealth begins. This gap is not explained by income. It is explained by the consistent failure to convert income into assets across decades of earning. Historical research consistently finds that the most predictive variable for net worth accumulation is savings rate as a percentage of income, not income level. A household earning $60,000 saving 20% for 30 years at 8% average. Returns accumulates. More than one earning $140,000 and saving 3%. The first accumulates approximately $1.5 million. The second accumulates $514,000. Income was more than doubled. Wealth was less than a third. The income illusion does not affect everyone equally. The financial system is architected in ways that make the income to wealth conversion easier for some households and systematically harder for others. Understanding who benefits from this confusion and who absorbs the loss is the piece of analysis that most salary conversations skip entirely. Once you see the architecture clearly, the design choices become visible. And design choices always have designers with specific interests in the outcome. The financial services industry profits directly from the income illusion. When high earners spend rather than invest, they consume more credit products, more financed purchases, more premium services. The credit card industry collected approximately $130 billion in interest and fees from American consumers in 2024. A significant portion comes from above-average income households carrying monthly balances because spending meets or exceeds earnings. The industry does not benefit from people converting income into low-cost index funds. It benefits from the gap between what people earn and what they keep. Tax structures reinforce the disadvantage for pure income earners. Earned income from salaries reaches marginal rates of 37% at the federal level. Long-term capital gains from invested assets are taxed at a maximum of 20% and at 0% for lower income brackets. A worker earning $100,000 from salary pays federal tax at rates up to 22%. An investor earning the same from long-term asset appreciation pays a maximum of 15%. The tax code creates a measurable, compounding advantage for income already converted into assets over income that has not been. The pattern by age reveals the compounding dimension clearly. A 30-year-old directing $10,000 annually into investments at 8% average returns accumulates approximately $1.2 million by age 65. A 45-year-old beginning the identical practice accumulates approximately $344,000 by the same age. The salary was identical. The 15-year delay produced a gap of $856,000. Time in the market is the actual mechanism, not a description of it. 77% of Americans report not feeling financially secure according to 2025 survey data. These are not predominantly low-income households. They include millions earning above-average salaries who have confused income with financial security. Income creates the feeling of security because it arrives on a predictable schedule. Wealth creates actual security because it exists independently of whether you show up next week. One stops when you stop, the other does not. That distinction is the entire game. Converting income into wealth is not a willpower problem. It is a structural design problem. Behavioral finance research is unambiguous. People who rely on motivation to save consistently fail when motivation fluctuates. People who automate the conversion of income into assets consistently succeed even when motivation is low. What follows are 4 principles derived from the actual mechanics of wealth accumulation. Each operates at the system level. Each has the mathematics to confirm it. Principle 1 is the first allocation rule. Before any money reaches your checking account, redirect a fixed percentage to an investment account automatically. The Federal Reserve finds that households automating savings maintain those contributions at far higher rates than households saving what remains after spending. A household earning $80,000 redirecting 15% automatically before any spending invests $12,000 per year. At 8% average annual returns over 25 years, that produces approximately $878,000 from income most people consider entirely ordinary. Principle 2 is the raise redirect rule. Every salary increase must be allocated before arriving in a spending account. Redirect at least 50% of every post-tax raise to investment accounts and allow no more than 50% to increase lifestyle spending. A household receiving a $5,000 annual raise that directs $2,500 to investments and $2,500 to lifestyle maintains forward momentum without triggering the full consumption ratchet. Applied consistently across multiple raises, the investment base compounds while lifestyle still improves. Principle 3 is the opportunity cost calculation. Before any major purchase, calculate its future invested value. A $35,000 vehicle, financed at 6% over 5 years, costs approximately $41,000 in total payments. That same $35,000 invested for 20 years at 8% grows to approximately $163,000. The vehicle is not a $35,000 decision. It is a $163,000 decision. That reframing fundamentally changes the psychological weight of the choice. Principle 4 is the net worth tracking rule. Review net worth monthly, not salary. Salary is an input. Net worth is the output that measures whether wealth is accumulating. A person tracking net worth monthly recalibrates financial progress around the variable that responds directly to allocation decisions. Every structural choice registers as a visible change in the number that matters, rather than an invisible reduction in the number that merely feels important. This shift restructures the relationship between income and what income is supposed to produce. The relationship between salary and wealth is one of the most systematically misunderstood mechanisms in personal finance. It is misunderstood not by accident, but because the financial services industry, the consumer credit system, the tax structure, and the cultural messaging around success all converge on the same incomplete message. Earn more. The message is not wrong. It is incomplete in a way that is financially catastrophic for people who receive it without the second half. Earn more and convert that income into assets before your consumption system absorbs it. The structural reality is permanent. Earned income from labor will always be taxed more heavily than returns from capital under the current tax framework. The hedonic treadmill will always pull lifestyle spending upward when income rises. The financial services industry will always profit from consumption over accumulation. These are not temporary conditions. They are the designed features of the economic environment in which every salary decision plays out. Knowing this does not change the environment. It changes what an informed person does inside it. The compounding mathematics are decisively on the side of the consistent investor, regardless of income level. The bottom 50% of American wealth holders own only 2.5% of total national wealth, according to Federal Reserve data from the second quarter of 2024. This is not because the bottom 50% earned too little. It is largely because income was consistently consumed rather than converted into assets. The mechanism operates at the same mathematical rate regardless of whether the individual understands it. The only variable is which direction you are positioned relative to it. Entry to the top 10% of American wealth holders required a net worth of approximately $970,000 in 2025. That figure is achievable on median income given sufficient time and consistent allocation. A household earning the national median of $83,700 that saves and invests 18% annually for 30 years at 8% average, returns crosses that threshold without inheritance, without exceptional career outcomes, and without any income that most people would consider extraordinary. Salary will not make you wealthy. The conversion of salary into assets, executed consistently and structurally before consumption claims it, is the only mechanism that produces wealth from ordinary income. This is not a motivational claim. It is a mathematical description of how capital accumulates. The salary is the input. The allocation decision is the mechanism. The compounding is the output. Understanding all three and building a system around the middle one is the difference between an income that provides a living and an income that eventually provides a life that no longer depends on showing up.